Hi, I'm Janice Switlo, and today I want to quote a little paragraph from the introduction of an American book that's titled North American Indian Chiefs. So I've quoted from this before, and I want to make an important point today. Remember, this is dealing with south of the Medicine Line. The legacy of the great chiefs is today more than just a relic of the past. Indeed, their words and their deeds are a living reality of our collective past and an enduring reminder that America's native peoples were once free and independent nations, and their leaders were truly important and diplomatically skilled heads of state. Today, a new generation of Native leaders are facing new challenges, finding pride in a great heritage and reclaiming the majesty of their forefathers who were among North America's greatest leaders. Now, in the United States example, again, there were wars north of the Medicine Line. There were not wars. There's a lot of debate as to what actually transpired, but essentially in the States, because of the various, because there was a revolution, for example, and various things that the United States of America has done in terms of passing laws and court cases that they have built upon in terms of their doctrines. They have said, these are domestic dependent nations. So a lot of people looking to the example, I know with the ANGA, they're looking to the Navajo example. It's really important to understand that those examples in the States have been described as kind of pan-Indian. In other words, they're not based on original governance structures, but are something that's kind of been put in place. And all of those things that have been put in place are under this auspices of a domestic dependent nation. So they no longer, according to all of that, no longer possess, for example, economic sovereignty or other sovereignty. They're relegated to internal matters. Now, Canada would love to get this in place, and this is exactly what you'll see in something like the ANGA, right, where you're incorporated and you have municipal type powers, and the nations no longer exist. That means any binding treaties fall, etc. My question is this, right, that today your leaders are still empowered to act as statesmen, as diplomats. They do not have to act like Indian agents. They do not have to act as merely members of a federal board, which is an Indian Act chief and council. These skills that, because of your skills, because of the ancestors who possess these skills, you have treaties, you have recognition of your nationhood. Today, there is no reason to give that up. There's been a lot of interference in your sovereignty, in your governance. We all know what happened with residential school in trying to break the ties. But what's key to the power of your governance and your sovereignty is it's creator given and it's creator protected. So please don't forget that. And I ask, what are your legacies going to be? Those people, for instance, who are in a position such as chief and may well be today promoting a positive vote in favor of the ANGA. When you're incorporated, even though you'll use your word for chief to describe, the chief executive officer, you're no longer a statesman. You are no longer exercising diplomacy of any kind. You are running a company. And what's your legacy going to be? Clearly, promoting and voting in favor and saying this is what we're going to do. In the future, it'll be determined that as of that date of implementing legislation, federal legislation, that you have no idea what it's going to look like. Once that's passed by Canada, you won't even have a say on that. You can provide representations, but you have no decision-making power over that. You've handed yourself over blindly. At that point, what's your legacy? You will be the ones held responsible for having given up and compromising irrefutably your nations. That's all I have to say.